I just heard Joseph talking about what he's going to be doing for his volunteers and stuff like that. And that's one of the things, like Mr. Cowser said, we want to make sure that we do recognize our volunteers during National Volunteer Week. You know, a lot of volunteers say they don't want the recognition, but, you know, we as managers of volunteers, you know, that's one of the things that we, you know, we should do. And just to let you know what we're going to be doing here at Fort Liberty, and any of the volunteers that's in the reserves in this area, whatever they're able to participate as well. Like for my ACS volunteers, I'm going to actually be doing a movie, and they'll get a free popcorn and a soda. They get to choose their own movie, and they just have to show up at the theater from 1 to 3, and they choose their own movie. They get a popcorn and a soda, refills if they want, and at the end, I just pay for it. Also, for the entire Fort Liberty, what we're doing, we have a Woodpeckers minor league baseball team here called the Fayetteville Woodpeckers. So all the volunteers on Fort Liberty will get to attend a baseball game for free. And at that baseball game, I'll be presenting the general, the CG, or his designee. I think it's going to be the garrison commander, but I'll present him with a check representing how many volunteers we had over the past year, how many hours they donate, how many hours they gave to the installation for the year, and the total dollar amount that it saved Fort Liberty by those volunteers volunteering. So of course, we always present a replica check in the millions every year to the CG. And I don't know if you all have a marketing person within your area, whatever. And like those tickets that we got for the Fayetteville Woodpeckers game, we have a marketing person, and each year we you know, tell them the events that's coming up, and then somebody would sponsor us. So we were sponsored by the Woodpeckers this year, so that's how we were able to get those free tickets. We can't go out and say, hey, can you give us free tickets? But we can let our marketing person know what we want for the year or what events are coming up for the year. So you can interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. What I wanted to do is actually just show you a few slides. It's about 6 or 7 slides, and it's mainly getting the scoop on volunteers, so on and so forth. Let me share here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Roger that.
Okay, so it's just a quick overview on the Army Volunteer Corps, get the scoop on volunteers. And like I said, it's only a couple of slides. And most volunteers feel like I'm just a volunteer. They're not just a volunteer. They are the ones that help us out, keep our organizations running. And, you know, if we had to pay them, of course, it would be a tremendous amount of money. So currently here on Fort Liberty, there are over 1,335 registered active volunteers, but there are actually 6,201 total volunteers registered in the system. But the ones who have active positions that have in the past year that have actually been active and logging hours is a total of 1,335. And more than half of those are working in the FRG. The other half are mainly comprised of soldiers and civilians. And we do have a lot of soldier volunteers. They volunteer with child youth services in the museums, USO with the Red Cross. There's so many different areas that they can volunteer on the installation. And same thing with the soldiers and family members with your organizations, regardless of where you are. And I know most of you may have heard of the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. Has everyone heard of that medal that the soldiers can receive?
Roger that. MOVSM.
Okay. So mainly I have a lot of soldiers. I get at least 5 or 6 soldiers a day that's coming in. You know, they never heard of the medal. They got here at Fort Liberty and they's like, hey, I heard about the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. I've been volunteering. How do I get my hours in? And here at Fort Liberty, the commanders are all for the soldiers getting the MOVSM. As of March 2019, there's no longer the 3 years or 500 hours. It's left up to the commander. So commander's discretion, how many hours that soldier has to have to get the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. As a matter of fact, some of the units, especially in the 82nd Airborne Division, the Chaplains Corps, they do like a competition to see, who can volunteer the most for the quarter. But the soldiers can earn 15 promotion points, and even if they're a senior NCO or an officer, that's going to look great in their records once they're going for the next higher promotion. You might say, oh, I'm already at E7 or E8 or whatever, but when they're looking at you at the DA level for that next higher level, your records look just like someone else. They see that you've done community service and you've got that MOVSM. That's going to make, that person stand out from the other person. And also with civilians or whatever, they can use that volunteer time on their resume. I've had lots of volunteers that have volunteered with ACS, and that's the only thing that they've ever done in life. They come straight out of high school, got married, started volunteering, and when it was time for them to get a job, they put that volunteer time on their resume as valuable job experience, and it helped them to get a job.
Excuse me, Alice, but
Yes.
this is James. But if I'm mistaken, the MOVSM that we're talking about here, a reserve soldier can apply for that also. Am I correct?
Yes, it's for reserves, National Guards, all of that. That's why I
if you're
mentioned
any
it.
staff members on here, please let your soldiers know if they're volunteering either as a part of the SFRG or within their local community, at their church or whatever. If they are volunteering and can verify those hours, please request that Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. It looks great in your records. And like Ms. Stevens said, it looks good in
And
your
on your
resume
uniform.
too. And
Yes.
on your uniform, pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and all hours from on the installation, off the installation, anything outside of the community, all those hours count towards the number of hours that's set forth by that commander. Because some soldiers have gotten it here for 100 hours, 150, 200. So it depends. It's left up to that commander how many hours that soldier has to have. They don't set a ridiculous amount here. So, but they definitely need to, make sure they get registered in VEMAS and keep track of those hours. And as far as the civilians as well, get registered in VEMAS, keep track of those hours when they want to get a job or, looking to be employed somewhere. They have a track record of everything that they've done as a volunteer. Any other questions about that? Okay. So
We got a hand, Colonel Dansby.
Ma'am, I have a question. So let's say that you were volunteering from 2012 to 2020. Could you go back and get the medal for that, or does it have to be current?
You can, whoever the organization point of contact is in VEMAS, they can backlog those hours for you. No, it doesn't have to be current. That medal actually came out in 1993. And as a soldier, I never knew anything about the medal until I actually started working here at ACS. And there was plenty of times that I volunteered. I volunteered like crazy, but I never knew anything about that Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. There was times I needed promotion points, but of course, that medal, I didn't know anything about it. But the medal was generated in 1993. But you can go back as far as you need to. Mm-hmm. And anything that you were doing while you were in the service. So if somebody was, as long as you were in the Army or the reserves during that time frame, I have soldiers saying, I was in college and I volunteered here. Those hours when you were in college does not count. Now, if you're in the reserves or whatever, and you did stuff while you were in the reserves, that's going to count. But, they're active duty soldiers say, oh, I did this in high school, but you were not in the Army when you were in high school. So, but it has to be hours that were earned, while they were serving in the Army Reserves, National Guard, so on and so forth.
Verifiable hours.
Yes, but those hours can be backdated, and that's what I spend most of my time doing. Like I said, most people come, they didn't know anything about the medal, and I can backdate their hours as far back as they need to go.
Yeah, I got another hand too, Miss Laverne Butler, from Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, go
Ooh,
Huskers.
okay.
No. Ms. Stevens, so I want to ask a question about civilians. Now, if I have a civilian that has been volunteering with Operation Homefront, so is there a certain amount of hours to get the medal or for civilians?
A civilian cannot get the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal, but there are other DA level awards like the,
Okay, that's
yeah,
what,
so in,
okay, I kind of thought that. I said,
yeah,
oh, maybe
AR
it changed.
672-20, they have the volunteer medals in AR 672-20, page 23, as a matter of fact. I don't even have it in
Chapter
front of
9. Chapter 9 covers all the incentive volunteer
me.
awards for non-DA civilian that are volunteering and everything. It's
Hmm.
just like the public service medal and things like that.
Understandable. Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Sure.
welcome. Good looking out for those hands, James, because I can't see nothing.
And you know I got you. You know I got you.
We're tag teaming here. Okay, and this is just a sample of what the volunteers did last year in like the replica check that I was telling you about in 2022, I had 1,904 volunteers who contributed over to 208,934 hours, and the value of their service equaled $6,527,573.30 if we had to pay them. And like I said, they do gain valuable job experience while volunteering. Matter of fact, I was at the hospital the other day. I had a volunteer that was volunteering here. All of a sudden, she stopped volunteering. I'm like, "What happened to you?" She said, "I got a job." I was like, "You could have told me." But anyway, and she used her actual volunteer experience on her resume to get that job. It's an admin job. Um, I don't know. I'm quite sure everybody have it's been out for what 4 years now. The new Army Family Web Portal, Volunteer Management Information System. So a lot of volunteers still have not transitioned their account over to the new system. And I always tell volunteers when they come in, they say, "Yeah, I was in the old system, haven't transferred over to the new system yet." If they don't want to do the transition your account where the only thing you have to have is your old Army One Source username, they can just create another account. They can click on register, create another account. And once they create that account, in the bottom right hand corner, there's going to be a chat button. And all they have to do is go on that chat and ask them to merge those two accounts. So everything that was in the old account will be merged to their new Army Family Web Portal VMIS account. So they don't lose any hours or anything like that. I know a lot of people were initially when we first switched over to this, there was problems with transitioning the old account to the new account. But if you have a volunteer that says, "Yeah, I was in the old system under my Army One Source," and they are having issues as far as transitioning their account, just tell them to create another account. They just need to register. And once they register, they can do that chat. And the chat personnel are great. They will, Caroline, Kim, I think Justin's still there. Those guys are great as far as, merging those two accounts together. So they lose nothing at all.
So, Ms. Stevens, just for clarification, let me get this straight because that's a game changer right there. Because so if I was in the old system as a volunteer
Mm-hmm.
and I came, you know how the biggest thing is what? I forgot my password.
Right.
A lot of people say I forgot I had an account, but I forgot my password. I got so many different passwords. If I went into Venus now and created me a new account on my Army Family Web Portal
Uh-huh.
and hit that chat button and told them what my old email address was, they could pull up my old stuff and they
Yes,
can merge the two accounts together.
they certainly will.
That's a game changer. Come
We
on,
do it
for
all
all
the
y'all
time.
family program staff out there that got people in that same situation, remember this now, because there's some good stuff.
Yep,
Okay,
we do
thank
it
you.
all the time. all the time. I do it all the time. And some people have like 3 or 4 accounts. I had a captain come in yesterday. She had like 3 or 4 accounts. Like every place she went, she created a new account, and she had 3 email addresses. So, and she finally came to me, and we were able to get all those accounts merged into one account. And she never lost anything from any of the installations that she was at. Everything was into that Army Family Web Portal account. Okay, next slide. And of course, registration is easy. I don't laugh at my slides. I was just putting together something really quick, and once I put it together, I left it as it is. Of course, you register online. Everybody knows the ArmyFamilyWebPortal.com. Complete and sign the DD Form 2793 volunteer agreement. The original is kept in the unit files, a copy uploaded into the volunteer service record by the OPOC. And I want to talk a little bit about this, especially the DD Form 2793. The DD Form 2793, if you got volunteers that are volunteering within the SFRG, the Family Readiness Groups, they need to have that DD Form 2793 signed, completed and signed. And for each position that they hold within the FRG, if they are an advisor, a key caller, part of a care team, they need 3 different 2793s. Those 2793s are duty specific. So make sure when you do have them sign those 2793s, because you might have one that says care team, and then they're out there doing something else, maybe doing setup, tear down, or whatever for a special event. That job description, that 2793 that's signed for the care team, that job description doesn't say anything about setup, tear down, hanging banners, and all of that. If that person gets injured, they cannot file for workman's compensation. So that 2793 protects the volunteer, and it also protects your organization. They can file for workman's compensation. They're protected against any tort claims, so on and so forth. And that's mainly for the SFRG. Now, I have nonprofit organizations here at Fort Liberty, such as the USO, Armed Services, YMCA, so on and so forth. They have their own insurance and protection. So when a volunteer is volunteering with one of those organizations, they're protected by the insurance under that nonprofit. But any place like SFRG, ACS, in the hospital, places like that, any Army related entity, they need that DD Form 2793, any federal government agency.
Okay, Miss Stevens, this is me again. As a volunteer program manager, I'm real familiar with that 2793. But what we also do within the Army Reserve is we have them sign a volunteer position description also that outlines their particular duties, and is signed by them as well as their prospective commander or whoever signs for the commander. And we can upload, and we can upload these documents into VEMAS?
Yes, when you go to their records, down at the bottom, it'll say documents or whatever, and you would upload the 2793 there. And I'll do after I get through the next 3 slides, I'll go into VEMAS and show you real quickly where you can upload those documents.
I was kind of hoping you would.
Yes, and like when I do my ACS volunteer orientation, I have them sign the 2793. They get a copy of their position description. I give them a copy of their position description, and I also give them a copy of my SOP. So I don't make them sign for it, but Okay. But yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit more once we go to the system or whatever. But mainly every volunteer that you have within the SFRG, or if they're volunteering with ACS or government agency, they need to sign that 2793. That is a legal document that protects them, and it protects that organization. Believe it or not, we still have people that, still try to sue the government or whatever. And we've had people that have actually gotten injured since I've been doing this job. 2 people that actually got injured, but they had a signed 2793. They had a position description stating that they were supposed to be doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. So one guy was a federal employee. He dropped some weights on his foot, crushed his foot. He was out of work for a long period of time. He was able to file for workman's compensation. And another lady, she was doing vacation Bible school, and she hit her foot on a pipe that was sticking out in the kitchen. Husband drove her to the hospital. They were able to recover those hospital bills. So it works. Definitely. And you always have volunteers say, why should I document hours? That's one of the hardest things we have here. We have a lot of people that don't want to register in VEMAS. They don't want to document their hours. When they are volunteering with a government agency, they are considered a government employee. The only thing is they're not getting paid. So it's for tracking and accountability. And of course, especially with Reserve Command, they're going to say, hey, how many people we got over in 83rd or whatever, how many volunteers we have, how many hours they have. You can't track that unless that person is registered and is documenting hours. Legal issues, I just talked about that, a little bit about that. It's important that they log their hours by day. If they do get injured or whatever, we can go back and put in historical hours, but we want to encourage them to log their hours by day. They can do it at the end of the week, end of the month, or whatever. When those hours go in by day, those go into Fort Liberty's official stats. Those hours and time frame is reported up to the DA or whatever, but those go into Fort Liberty's official stats. And as far as legal issues is concerned, if a volunteer does get injured, say for instance, I'm helping with setup and tear down, I didn't log my hours. Next week, my back is hurting. I didn't pull something. I didn't feel it then. I come back and say, hey, I got injured while I was setting up and tearing down, for the event. When CPAC goes and do the investigation or whatever, they're going to say, okay, let me see that 2793. Was this person actually working that day? I go in there, I was like, well, there's no hours logged. So no, I don't know that person was working that day. So there's no, you want to make sure that person logged their hours for the time frame that they actually log hours, because once they do that investigation, because they're not just going to take your word for it. Hey, yeah, this person got injured, give them workman's compensation. They're going to actually do an investigation. So there's forms that have to be filled out. They ask for that 2793. They check to make sure that volunteer was working that day. So that's one of the reasons too that, volunteers need to log their hours so they won't have to, go through the rigmarole of trying to prove that they were working if they do get injured. Volunteer recognition, we already talked about the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. And like Mr. Cowser was saying, 672-20, Chapter 9 talks about all the volunteer awards that other volunteers can receive. The military member can receive the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. Other volunteers, family members can receive, DA Certificate of Appreciation. Here we have installation awards as well. And of course, if you're here on Fort Liberty as a reservist, you're eligible for those installation awards as well. But DA public service medals, so on and so forth, are all the different types of awards. And I do a volunteer award recognition training quarterly just before the Iron Mike Award. So maybe one day we can get together. If Mr. Cowser don't give you guys an award writing training, I can maybe do one shop talk or whatever.
Oh, you're always welcome back. Come on now, you're always welcome back. You're a friend of the program.
And then another reason why they should document their hours, it creates a volunteer history. Like I said, it can be used on their resume for employment. And a lot of people have done that. People don't document their hours. They'll leave Fort Liberty and they'll go and apply for a job. And the employer calls me and say, hey, Mr. Cowser said that he was at Fort Liberty and he volunteered within the SFRG. I go into VEMAS, Mr. Cowser's in there, but I don't see any hours. So I was like, well, he was here. That's all I know. But if, Mr. Cowser logged his hours and has a position It's like, yeah, Mr. Kaiser was here. He was the FRG advisor. He did this, 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 this. I can give them the best. I mean, they'll probably hire him for the job right then and there. Uh-oh, sorry about that. For the installation, it captures the overall contributions to the installation, and it will capture the overall contribution for your units as well. And we already talked about accountability and legal issues. And for volunteer recognition, disregard that. That should say Fort Liberty incentives. We actually, when volunteers document hours here, they kind of cut my NAFA budget now, but I still have some incentives left. So what I would do, I would request funds at the beginning of the fiscal year from my MWR headquarters. And with those funds, what I would do, I would get incentives, and every hour that the volunteer log represented $1. So they can come and say, hey, Alice, I got $500. They could get sweatshirts, cups, things like that, tote bags, things, different things or whatever. So I try to get a little something to please everybody, the youngest volunteer to the oldest volunteer. But like I said, my NAF budget has been cut. I don't have a NAF budget anymore. So once that kind of runs out, it's out. But I still do the volunteer recognition, like I said, for National Volunteer Week. We'll be doing the baseball game. We usually have a picnic. The Gary Sinise Foundation usually sponsors us or whatever, but since we couldn't get McKellar's Lodge, Smith Lake, we're doing something different. We usually do a picnic with live entertainment or whatever. We might get like the 82nd band or chorus or whatever, and they get free food, so on and so forth, and door prizes, trackless train. But this year, everybody's really excited about the baseball game, so we're doing something different this year for sure. And like Joseph, I think it was Joe was talking about, we have Facebook pages for each of the programs within ACS and for Fort Liberty. And, if you got a volunteer that's doing something great or you want to capture them in action, I always tell people, hey, you got a volunteer doing something. They're out there doing something in action. Send me the photos so we can highlight them. So definitely keep that volunteer recognition going on, even if you just send them a little thank you note or just a verbal thank you. Volunteers really appreciate that. And that'll keep them coming back for sure. Awards qualification tracking. Like I said, that's pretty much gets into the award stuff or whatever. And maybe one day we'll do an actual award training. And this is just my contact information. And real quick, I just want to show you in VEMUS, because Mr. Kaiser was asking about where you upload that document. So I want to go to VEMUS real quick, if that's okay with everyone. Is that okay with everyone?
That's more than okay. That's actually it's kind of expected. Come on with it now.
Get out of this. Let me see. Hold on.
Hit escape. You good.
You know how I am with the.
There you go. Now you're ready to rock and roll.
Hold on. Log on real quick.
You got to unshare then reshare again, Ms.
Okay.
Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can see the right screen.
Okay. Let me go back here.
Oh, I see VEMUS. That's
VEMUS. That's VEMUS. And I'm quite sure everybody on here knows how to log on. And like I said, if you did forget, your password, or you're in the old system and never haven't registered, just go ahead and register again, or you can transition your account. But I'm going to go ahead and log in real quick. And I'm just going to use my CAT card to make things quicker. Okay. So we did do a VEMUS training the other day, but as far as I guess I'm going to explain pretty much where Mr. Cowser was talking about where you would upload the 2793. I'm just going to pull up somebody real quick. I know y'all are experts on this already, so we don't even have to worry about that. Let's do Crawford. And like you see here where I was talking about never logged in, that means those people, they were in the old system, but they never logged into the new system yet. They're either gone or they just don't care.
So
But
the system won't lose nothing then. The system holds on to it. Okay.
It doesn't lose anything. So if you wanted to upload that 2793, you would find that person's name, click on that pencil, go to their records. Uh-oh. And down here where it says documents, click on add document. And all you're going to do is scan that 2793. You'll name it Stevens DD form 2793. Click on upload. And then once you upload it, whatever, it's going to have a description box. And you can put that person's SFRG advisor, SFRG key call, or whatever it might be. And then it will be uploaded into that person's Venus profile. Now they can upload, like if a volunteer is logging hours or something like that, they can upload documentation for that. They can upload their own orientation. They can upload their trainings, all of that stuff. You just have to certify it. But as far as the 2793, they cannot upload that on their own. You have to put that in there for them. And like I said, once the volunteer logs in or whatever, this is actually their dashboard, and this is what they see. And as far as opportunities, when they get ready to look for opportunities, they just need to click on opportunities. And depending upon where they want to volunteer, they just go to their filters. If they want to volunteer at a museum, they'll go to organization, just start typing in museum. Brings up all the museums. They want to volunteer for a specific unit. They start typing in that unit or whatever, it's going to bring it up. They just click there, hit OK, and it'll show all the positions underneath that unit. They find the one that they need, gives them a brief description of the unit, duties, so on and so forth. They hit apply, and then they'll hit apply again. And that application will go to that organization point of contact. If you have volunteers that volunteer outside of the SFRG, they have to submit an application, because that's anything that's not listed, that's not within the SFRG or any organizations that the OPOC have put in for on post. So like a Habitat for Humanity, animal shelter, if they volunteer at a rec center or something off the installation, they have to submit an application. Then they would go to submit non-Army Volunteer Corps position. So they would put soccer coach, Westover Recreation Center, brief description of the duties, qualifications, NA, training, on-the-job training, orientation, volunteer orientation required. Time requirement just varies because you don't know, as a volunteer, you don't know when you're going to be volunteering. You might or you might not. There's specific time requirements. They can put it there. They'll put the address, the supervisor's name. They will press save. Once they press save, that Army Volunteer Corps coordinator for that region will receive that application. Once that volunteer coordinator approves that application, that position will go into that person's service log, and they'll be able to log hours by day, just like they do for their on-post volunteer opportunity. Question? Hello?
No, we got you. I'm digging this.
Oh,
Affirmative.
And I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go into this because I'm quite sure people on here probably already know most of this stuff already. So if somebody wants me to go over something specific or have questions or whatever, I am more than happy to assist. And then with the reports button, if you're an administrator, that's where you'll see all of your volunteers and all of their hours in one location. That is the only place that you can see all of your volunteers in one location. And the only thing about the reports, it does not separate active from inactive.
Okay, and Ms. Stevens, before all the questions start coming, can you stop sharing for a second? I want Captain Spencer to share her screen. Because as you said last week, last week you gave us Monday this week, you did a ABCC Army Volunteer Corps Coordinator training for some of the ABCCs designated within the Army Reserve.
Right.
And they have already begun to populate VEMUS for their
Yeah.
regions. Yes, they have done so. I mean, outstandingly. I want to look at what some of the 88s have done within their region, so we can. So I want to all the people here know that hey, our guys they're rolling too. They're trying to make it happen. So that way, when VEMUS get kicked off live within the Army Reserve, our ABCCs are on top of things already.
Exactly.
See right here, this is what they've already started to put in. They're starting with the units that they have with SFRGs and everything already. All these right here, we had representation from 6 of the RD of the geographic commands, Captain Spencer. 6 of the geographic commands were represented during this training, and they've all started to put in some of their units already into VEMUS. So that way, once we kick this thing off, after the 88th does this pilot with us, it's going to be on and popping.
Yep, looks good.
They're going to train their OPOCs, and we may need some help, Miss Stevens, getting these OPOCs trained. I hope you don't mind doing some virtual training for us.
I'll be here.
Outstanding. I appreciate that. You know, this was recorded, so I got you recorded, so you're going to help. Okay, then. All right, then. Well, thank you, Cal Spencer, for showing that. I just wanted everybody to see that our people have started doing this already. This is not a process way, way down the road. This process is right around the corner. We're going to make this happen, everyone. And it makes it a whole lot easier for everyone within the Army Reserve that are statutory volunteers to maintain an account for what they're doing as a volunteer. And now we got an Army ambassador within our midst that's a part of it. That's definitely a friend of the program. They can spread the word also about VEMUS once we get started. Isn't that right, Madam Ambassador? Is she still here? Did she go? I think she may have left.
I went
Okay.
too long for her.
Okay, then. Nah, she probably has somewhere else. She's real busy. But I'm glad she was here today, though. Okay, back to you, Miss Stevens.
I guess that's pretty much it. Unless there's something else you all wanted me to talk about. I mean, we're at 12:40 now. You said about 20 to 30 minutes. So,
Did anyone else have any questions for Miss Stevens? Or for Captain Spencer, who is our volunteer specialist up here at the headquarters? You all know me. I take silence to be golden. Again, Miss Stevens, thank you for your time today, spending your lunchtime educating us. Okay, Mr. Robinson, I see your question.
More of a comment than a question. Just that I was fortunate enough to be on that training Ms. Stevens did with us, along with Captain Spencer. I just wanted to thank you. It was very comprehensive, and as you can see from the screen of Captain Spencer, our people are all over it, trying to get up and ready. So thank you again for that training, Ms. Stevens, for sure.
you're welcome. Thank you for being on and attending. I had a great time with you all. And I'm still here, even though Captain Spencer is your person or whatever. If y'all need me for anything, definitely get on MS Teams or shoot me an email, and I'm willing to help in any way possible.
Again, Ms. Stevens, thank you for your time today and these efforts as far as not only training our ABCCs and promising to train our OPOPs. But thank you for assisting me and Captain Spencer almost anytime we ever need you. Thank you for
You're
being a
very
friend of the
welcome.
program. I appreciate that.
You're
So if
very
there's
welcome.
no further questions or anyone in the field, on behalf of Colonel Dennis, which is our Army Family Programs Director, and Mr. John McCarthy, the Senior Volunteer for Army Reserve Family Programs, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for Shop Talk, and we look forward to catching you again next month. Remember, Shop Talk is done the second Thursday of every month at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. It is also recorded and saved on our on our YouTube station. So until next time, thank you all for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.